Hi everybody, it's Diane. I am here to give a tutorial in my own way of how to make this very basic, relatively easy, small junk journal, glue book, blank book, whatever you want to do with it. I made this, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, and I received a comment that I didn't show all the steps in creating the actual book, and I didn't, because there are a lot of tutorials out there and I just didn't think anyone was that interested. But since somebody was, I'm going to make another one and take you through it. So I use scrapbook paper for the front and back. This is going to be the new one, front and back. There are different types of scrapbook paper. This is more of a cardstock weight. You can tell that. They do make like papery type. Do not use that for the covers. If you don't know, you can buy scrapbook paper in pads or individual sheets online and in craft stores. Okay. A trimmer is a big help. If you don't have one, you can draw a line and cut with scissors, but these are very handy. So to make this exact one, and it's exactly what I'm doing. You can do any size, but this is what I'm doing. You need your width to be 9 1/4 inches. And then you need your height. I'm going to trim this off first to be 5 1/2. And that gives you a 3/4 inch spine. Okay, save your scraps. You can use them for collage stuff. Okay, so cut the inside exactly the same. Okay. What I do to adhere them together is use Podge. Okay. Any kind of brush. I just grab a foam brush. Have a wet, damp paper towel handy. Okay, make sure your paper is how you want it. Technically that's upside down. Okay. So don't slop it all over the place, but be generous, don't be skimpy. If you spill any or anything like that, clean it up right away. You don't want to set it down on that Mod Podge. It'll, when it dries, leave like a sheen spot. And if you set it down, like I'm doing right now, try not to move it around or you'll get some on the other side. Okay. Get rid of your schmutz. Okay. Lay down. I have a piece of wax paper here. Okay, just put your other piece on top. Just line it up, which a little trickier than you might think, because it likes to stick. If you're way off, pull it up and do it again. A little bit you can trim off after the fact. Okay, give it a little bit of a press. Alright, cover it with another piece of wax paper. This happens to be parchment paper, that's fine. And then weight it down with a heavy book. I usually let it sit overnight. I suppose several hours would be okay, but I just do it overnight. So I will see you tomorrow. Okay, here we are. So here's your glued cover. If you have a little bit or didn't line up, I just trim it off with scissors. If you want to use a straight edge and like an X-Acto, go ahead. If it's really, really narrow, like just a hair, you could probably ink the edges and that would take care of it. And just cutting a little bit off like this, I have found doesn't make any difference really. Check both sides. Okay. Now check it and make sure it is glued everywhere. Like sometimes the corners aren't completely glued. This seems fine. If you find a spot that's not, you know, really adhered, I just put a little glue in there, like on a toothpick, and kind of cram it in, and then weight that area down for a half hour or something. Okay. All right, this is the part that I am going to put in a disclaimer because I do not always have good luck with this, and I cannot figure out why. I've watched a lot of tutorials, read some blogs about it. It's when you fold scrapbook paper, sometimes it cracks. This one is pretty good. This one's fine. This one is a little cracked, although this one is kind of older, so I'm not really sure. I'm not remembering now if it cracked at the time or it's just sort of wear. You can't fix it if it cracks. What I do is put fabric over it. So if you're going to do that, cut it to the width you want, glue it all down really well, and then I go back and trim top and bottom edges. And you can put ribbon over the raw edge if you'd like, and that is a very nice look anyway. So there, you can do that whether it cracks or not. 90% of the people out there tell you to do it opposite of what I'm doing. You should be scoring on the front. I've had better luck scoring on the inside, and I have seen a few people do it that way. I don't know what to tell you. It could actually even be the paper. I'm thinking some papers just are going to crack more than others. I don't know. If you have any big tips on that, feel free to leave it in the comments. So, it doesn't matter which way it is. And with our measurements, the cover's supposed to be 4 1/4, remember? So if we go in that way on each side, use a pencil, not a pen, then there should be 3/4 left in the middle. Yep. Okay, now I lucked out. This paper has stripes and it's nice and straight. So I'm only going to mark it once. If your paper is plain or blank or has a uneven pattern, mark it twice so you can line up your ruler, okay? Let's take a nice straight edge. I'm using a table knife, a butter knife. A lot of people use a bone folder. This works fine. This, to me, has a better handle on it. It's easier to use. So find your mark. And so in this case, I'm just lining up with the stripes. Okay, so push in a little bit. Don't just go straight. You have to be against the ruler a little. Otherwise, it's easy to get away from the line, the straight line. Does that make sense? So push in a little bit, give it a little pressure, go over 4 or 5 times, maybe 6 if you're not applying a lot of pressure. Okay, do the other one. Okay, erase your marks. Don't overly erase. I have had the paper color come up a little bit. Like this one you can still sort of see. I'm not going to worry about it. It should be kind of concealed with the signatures. Okay. So just kind of gently fold it where the score line is. Kind of pull it over, line it up with the paper. Okay. Okay. Then take your either bone folder or knife and kind of, I sort of gently work it down. Okay. Now do the other side. If for some reason your paper really is not folding at all, go back and score it a couple more times. Okay. And that's pretty good. There's a little cracking there, but that's not bad. Okay. If you have cracking, I humbly apologize because I don't know. I have tried the other way, folding it the other way. I have tried not letting the Mod Podge dry all the way. I've tried all different things and I can't figure it out. Okay. So now we are on to the pages. What you're going to use your book for will kind of dictate what pages you're going to want to get, papers you're going to want to get. Most junk journals use all kinds of things. Junk mail, old book pages, scrapbook paper, printer paper, envelopes, cut up paper bags, anything. Since we'll be using this as a collage book, I didn't want super lightweight paper, but this stuff is fairly lightweight. But I didn't go real flimsy. So I've got an old workbook page here. This is a memo tablet. This is, I don't know what, scrapbook paper, the lighter weight, scrapbook paper, old writing tablet, book page, printer cut off, another one, book page, coloring book, book page, and then these are lighter weight scrapbook papers. Okay, this one, I believe there's only 6 pages per signature. Let's count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, I did that because that's what I did in these old books, and I think they bulked up real well. If you like journals that are more like this when they're all done, put in more pages. But I think that worked out fine. So we have 3 signatures. This is a signature, a grouping of papers, 1 signature. So 6 times 3 is 18. So I need 18 papers. You have to measure to know how to cut them. Most junk journalers do not go all the way to the cover edges. If you want to do that, go ahead. I'm going to go 5 1/4 up and down. My pencil pen. Write it down so you don't forget. Make an arrow so you know which way it goes. And then I have found, don't measure your paper like this. It says 9 inches. Close it. Put your ruler in there against the spine and see. It should be more like 8. Okay. Okay. 8 this way. Junk journals often do have pages that are longer, like if you want to go 10, and then on one end fold in 2 inches, so you have a little flippy thing. That's fine. I'm not doing that in this. If you're brand new, you've never made a journal before, don't goof around with that. Just make your pages the way they're supposed to be. If you want to make some a little shorter, you can do that. I think there's a couple in here. Most of these are just the correct size. Oh, I don't see one. All right, make a liar out of me. Anyway, I may do that in this one. Okay, I'm not going to sit here and cut 18 pieces of paper in front of everybody. So I'm going to cut all the pages and then take you on the next step. Hang on. Okay, the papers are cut. I went ahead and folded them. That's not much to show. In this case, you just fold them in half. If you have a very heavy paper, use your bone folder or your knife and give it a good crease. This thin stuff, I just run my nail down it. Okay, then I sort of group them, like these are sort of plain, book page, scrapbook paper, and I put the coloring book page there. So we need 3 groups of 6. You can do it any way you want. I just sort of try to, stagger it, give it a good mix, just so I personally don't get bored in the book. I'll start with a blank one to be the very first page, okay? And then just pick. You can certainly rearrange until you bind it in the book. And this book, as I pointed out, is going to be a collage glue book. So, generally speaking, all of these pages are going to get covered up. In another journal, a writing journal, pay attention to what's facing. Like, that's fine. Maybe you don't want like that with it. That looks a little odd. Okay. On the very inside page, I would not use a very old brittle type paper. Use something more substantial. Okay. I do have one short paper here. So here, we'll do that. Put this in the middle. Okay, last one. Okay, now in this case, it also does not matter what order these are really in, but for some reason you want this page to be your very first page, then you have them in a certain order. Technically too, when you make a signature, because you have a little bit of thickness here, the last couple of pages do actually stick out a little bit. In an ideal book world, you would take a straight edge and an X-Acto and trim that all off. For junk journals, I don't worry about it. If it's really sticking out for some reason, I will trim it, but these are fine. Okay, our next step is binding. And I have to go gather some materials. I don't have a lot of space here. So I'm going to go gather my materials and then we will put it together. That's the last step. Hang on. Okay, crew, are we up for binding? I will say this can be a tad challenging. The 3-hole pamphlet stitch is very easy, but it can be a little trying. Don't do this if you're in a hurry or you have, kids arguing behind your back or you're on the heels of a bad day. Okay. You need a piece of scrap paper. This is just paper, like printer paper, that will fit in your spine. So it's 3/4 of an inch wide and 5.5 up and down. Okay. It's going to be a template so you know where to poke your holes. Just fold it in half. And then fold it in half, both ways. And that gives you a center point. Try to get it even. Okay, you may not be able to see it on camera, but I have a cross there now where I can do that. If you want to be really super precise, take a ruler and draw the line there. So that's your center. So since this is a 3-hole, there's one, we need 2 more, right? So I've never seen any sort of formula to do this exactly. I have seen people fold this up and then take that. To me, that's a tad high. You have all this excess. So I go a little lower than that. In this case, let's say, okay, we'll go to 2. And keep in mind, in this case, this is a tad longer than your pages. So if you go way down here, you're going to be in trouble. So our pages are a little shorter than the actual cover. Okay, there we go, there's 3. But since we have 3 signatures, we need 3 lines of holes, okay? On something this narrow, you could probably just sort of eyeball it and draw a line. I'll measure, I'll be precise. Okay, I'll go 1/4 inch on each side of that fold line. Okay, then draw your lines. And if you plan to make a lot of journals with a similar size, hang on to your template when you're done here. Okay, now you need the line all the way across. So just line it up with the one you already did, the center one. Okay. Okay. Mark the top. You can write top, you can put T, you can put an X, you can put an arrow. It does make a difference, just in case you're off a little bit. And you know, you do one and then you're goofing around and you take a phone call and you come back. If you have it upside down for the next one, it might not line up right. Okay, so we poke the holes. The signatures are easy. There's a, you know, little subliminal ad there. I'm not affiliated with them. Take a phone book on a preferably nicer page than that. Okay, and you're going to put your stuff in the you know, valley there. It'll help hold it for you. So this is a signature. Make sure it's, you know, up and down the way you want it. So then put the top of the template at the top, put it in there. Okay, center it, because like I said, it's going to be a tad longer. Okay, make sure your pages are good and snug. If you're really concerned, put a clip or something on them to hold them together. At this point, I don't do that. Okay, get it in there. Take an awl. I've seen people use other things. I have used a jewelry reamer, but in my opinion, this is good. Okay, and just poke a hole in the center where they intersect. Okay. Okay. You do all 3. I won't do that right here. Then to get the holes in the spine, you put it in. Make sure your top is your top. Get it in there. Make sure it's in there correctly. It's the same thing. If you're a little concerned, go ahead and clip it in. Make sure it's straight, or you know, your holes will be, I mean, I'm exaggerating, but you know, they won't be lined up nicely, which if you're going to cover it with fabric, you can kind of hide that. Okay, so here we are going to do all the holes. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. Okay. You do have to give a little pressure to get through that double layer of scrapbook paper. Don't move your hand if you can help it. Okay, like I said, hang on to that if you're going to make more than one. Okay, that's pretty good. Okay, so now you have to put your signature in here and secure it. I use, this is knit crocheting. It's a form of crochet cotton. Crochet cotton comes in different weights. I don't know what to recommend. This is knit crocheting. I even picked this up at a thrift store. If you do that, give it kind of a test. Sometimes the older ones, depending on how they were stored, they'll you know, kind of snap on you. They won't hold up. you want 3 and a little bit of the height. So you go 1, 2, 3, and I give it about 3 or 4 more inches. Okay, you need a needle. I already threaded one, so I wouldn't have to struggle with that. This is an embroidery needle. Most people use a tapestry needle. It's a lot easier to thread, okay? But this is thinner, as you can see, so I feel like I'm not poking bigger holes. But I have used this. It's fine. Embroidery, probably you want a tapestry needle. At any rate, you do not want a needle that is sharp, like a sewing, real sewing needle for repair work or embroidery, because it's real easy then to jam it right through a page and make a hole. Okay, so we're threaded. In this case, I want the knot on the inside. See, the knots are not showing. Actually, I just so happen to have, if you want, you can do it on the outside and have the knot on the outside, which is nice if you want to tie beads or anything on it. If you're going to put fabric on it, do not have your knot on the outside. Okay, so I started the first one. Here too, most people line it up and clip it. I don't know what my problem is. I said this once before. Those clips, I just get the thread wrapped around, I'm banging into them. I don't like them, okay? Let me put this book over here too. I'll explain this in a minute. So you go through the center hole, and if you line it up right, and if you probably use a clip, it should go right through. If it doesn't, don't force it. Stop, kind of look through, see where it's not going, help it. If you force it, you're going to ram this through where it's not supposed to, because it's stuck somewhere where there is not a hole. So if you force it, you're going to make another hole, and you don't want that. Okay, so we go through the hole. Let's go in. Leave, I don't know, 6 inches or so. You can clip that down if you're concerned. Use the paper clip or a bulldog clip. I just hold on to it with my thumb. Okay, now you go into the next hole. It doesn't matter, top or bottom, take your pick. And it can be a little tedious to go through the opposite way. If it doesn't want to go, put your awl through it again. Okay, now this is where the book comes in for me. This book is pretty tall. So I can rest it kind of on the edge, and the needle is still this way. If it's just flat on a table, now your fingers kind of can't get in there. I find this is helpful. Okay, so find the next hole here in the papers. Like I said, this can be a little challenging, especially if you don't want to use a clip like I do, or don't. And I also don't have my glasses on. This is why I said this is not something you want to do when you're tired or frustrated or something. Sometimes I do this. It just so happens you got to go through it a page or two at a time. That's just the way it is. Having less pages in a signature is sort of helpful. Okay, so we made it. Okay. Don't pull it real tight, just, so there's no slack there. Okay, now this is the only little tricky part. You skip over the middle and go to the next hole. Okay, skip the middle, go to the hole where there's no thread yet. Go in. Okay, sorry about that. I got interrupted. So we're just going through. Okay, now make sure you are following, the line of holes. Okay, pull it through, and it's the same thing, not tight, but snug. Okay, now, I guess you could probably surmise you go through the middle hole. See how the thread is here? try to angle a little bit away from it because you don't want to split your thread, and I'll explain that in a minute. Sometimes you get lucky and it goes right through, but don't count on it too often. Okay. Put your needle back in your case or a pin cushion or something. Don't let it roll around and get lost. Okay, so now you have your tails on either side of this middle thing. Okay? Alright, we need to take out all this gapping. So you can kind of pull gently, take out the slack, and then what I do, open it fairly flat, and then just kind of pull. And then see there's a little gapping, pull it tight, okay? Give it kind of a tug this way, okay? All right, now what I do, I take the signature and give it, see that's jiggly, that's way too loose to me. Okay, so you just kind of keep tightening, keep goofing. If you know a better way to do this, let me know too. But I don't want a loose signature. A little bit loose still. I kind of hold it down on the back and then pull. A little loose. You can try this way too. That's pretty good. Could be a little tighter. And because of this, I have gone to a 5-hole stitch on most things. I'll talk about that in a minute too. Okay, that's good. Do a quick check. Make sure you have no thread gapping. Once in a very blue moon, it didn't get pulled all the way. And if you don't look, you won't know. Okay? Knot it. It's just an overhand knot. Just like you're going to tie your shoe. 1, and then reverse the threads and do it again. And then Diane does 3. And then clip these. You can make them as long or short as you want. I'll just go to here. Okay. And then I take the pages, put them together, and just towards the bottom or spine, give a little press. Just sort of let them kind of work their way in there. Okay? You do the exact same thing for the other 2. I'll do those off camera. So the 5-hole I mentioned, that's what this is. All these other ones I made a bunch of these at one time. These are all 3. That's fine for something this short. But I got into the habit over the years of anything really taller than 5 inches, I do 5. I just think it's a lot more secure. It's a tricky. It is trickier, especially if you haven't done it before, but it's very doable. There are tutorials on that. I'm not going to talk about it now because we're just doing 3 here. Okay, what else was I going to mention? One thing I should have said with the scoring, if you have a scoreboard, certainly use that, okay? I'm kind of going under the assumption you don't have one. Also, in the last segment when I was signing off, I showed this cover. I didn't realize it until I signed off. If anybody noticed, that's different. It is different. As long as I had enough of this paper, I went ahead and made another one a little different in size. So sorry about that. Okay, I'm going to put the other 2 in and come back and we'll just kind of wrap up and do a little chit chat and review. Okay, one more edit here. Hang on. Okay, here we are. All the signatures are in. It's complete. Okay, I did want to mention a few things I forgot. I didn't explain the splitting the thread thing when you're binding it. If you have your needle and you go through a hole that already has a thread in it, and you inadvertently go through, I probably not going to be able to do it. Yeah, I can't, but you go through the thread and pull it, it will not tighten up properly. That's just bound to happen sooner or later. if you get all the way to the end and find that out, you're going to have to take it out and redo it because it just will not tighten up that way. What you can do is when you go through a hole that has a thread in it, take a minute and take a little, gap of the thread and pull it. If it pulls easily, then it's fine. If it doesn't, then you can take it out at that point, rethread your needle and try again, as opposed to pulling the whole thing out. Okay, does that make sense? You'll know it when you find it. How about that? I should have mentioned when you have your signatures before they're put in, as an example, pretend this is one. Before you bind them in, take your signatures and kind of go like this and just make sure, yes, they fit. And once in a while, you just accidentally cut one page wrong or something. It's a lot easier to trim it before it's bound in. You can use embroidery floss. I've never tried it. You can use baker's twine. I've never tried it. I've only used the crochet cotton, but I have seen other people use different things to bind. Is that it? Yeah, I think that's all I forgot. So to recap, this is your scrapbook paper size. You need 2 of them, one inside, one outside. The finished size is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 with a 3/4 inch spine. Okay, and then the pages are that. And remember, you can make them bigger, fold some in, make them shorter. This is a very bare bones type tutorial and book. There are, 1,001 things you can do to add pockets and embellishments and different types of page flip things and stuff. It goes on and on and on. But this is very basic. It does make a very good glue book because of that. And that's what I was doing with all these. It's just all collage stuff in here. Okay. If you have any questions, go ahead and ask. I'll try to answer them. I hope this was helpful. If you decide to give it a try, good luck. May your paper never crack. And thanks very much for watching. Have a nice day.